Welcome to the By Steve podcast.
What up? This is the By Steve podcast. I was not hoping, but I was planning to do this one a little bit later in the week. But as always, the world takes over, does it not? And here we are. So, first things first, I have been pulled up about my use of the r word in my previous podcast. So I have eradicated it from my vocabulary. For all of the people that listen to my podcasts, I don't edit them. And I try to be as free speaking as possible, but I also understand that sometimes words that were fine in the 90s are not fine in the 2020s. So apologies for that. I got broad shoulders. I can take the hit, and I apologize. So no more use of that word. And if you know or you don't know what it is, go back and listen to the last podcast. But yeah, so here we are. I put a little bit of Instagram post up the other day about what this one would be. Why did I get locked in a car for 6 hours? I mean, a couple of people messaged me about this and they had their thoughts and theories, but this is a child-related life story. So here we go. So some of you, most of you are probably not aware that the person that I call dad is not actually my dad. My mum remarried when I was in my teens, and the person that has been the father to me is not my biological. But this story relates to the person who I guess really relate to as a sperm donor, and my biological father, to which I have had zero relationship with for many years until he passed. But in my childhood, this guy, what a guy! So he was heavy on the drink and was not the most family orientated individual. I'm going to try and shoot down the line and be diplomatic on the most of it, because I feel like airing my whole feelings in one podcast would be probably a little bit too much. But yeah, so he left the family home, or was asked to leave the family home, and he tried so hard to be a dad. That statement is a lie. He took no interest in being a dad. On his weekend care weekends, we would go to the pub, and I would get left in various places, not inside the pub, to allow him to have as many beers as he so choose on any given weekend. And on this particular weekend, I got picked up in a Ford Capri. I think it was green, I don't really remember. I think it was a green Capri. And we went cruising to the nearest establishment for beer. And basically, my biological went inside for beer, left me in the Capri for like forever, basically. I was locked in a Ford Capri with periodical bacon fries being dropped off and the occasional orange squash or lemonade, to which that was my whole afternoon why he got what we would call shit-faced. And then obviously, as a young child, you just kind of get into like, let's push all the buttons, let's play with the car, ba-da-ba-da-ba, locked in a Capri, played with the gear stick, played with the steering wheel, managed to put the steering lock on, and when he finally came back out of the pub, a little bit tipsy, drunk driving, but couldn't start the car to start with because he didn't know how to undo the steering lock. So that is the short version of how I got locked in a car for 6 hours. It might not have been 6 hours, it might have been 8, or it might have been 4. But basically, I got locked in a Ford Capri, fed bacon fries and orange squash while my childhood biological sperm donor basically went and got drunk. So this is one of many interesting stories about my childhood. Another one of these such like scenarios was when I got took to the market, clothing, food, shoe, whatever, and I was purchased a pair of trainers. I love trainers. But also then, while wearing said trainers, while my dad was back in the pub, I used to be allowed to play up and down the canal. And if you know this, which I didn't at the time because I was very young, if you empty the canal out in the locks, there's quite a lot of mud at the bottom. So I, with a group of other children who were playing on the canal, emptied the water out of the lock, and then we had a race through the mud, to which my shoes, brand new. I can't remember what brand they were, but they weren't very expensive. But that's irrelevant because, you know, he was a hard-working man. He wanted to spend his money on beer, not on shoes. While my shoes stayed on my feet, I managed to dredge up, obviously, around my shoes, all of the bottom of the canal. So when I went back into the pub to go find him, I was covered in bottom of canal rubbish. And then, basically got given a bucket of hot soapy water, and had to clean my brand new trainers, but just goes to show the level of supervision that I had. This is the start of many interesting stories in relation to this situation. Everybody has some kind of odd relationship or broken relationship that they have had growing up, whether that's with a brother or sister, or a mother or father, or someone further afield, who knows. But this is part one of biological dad stories with Steve. And we will fill you in on a few more as the weeks go by. But yeah. So if you ever think it's hot in your car and you wish you had air conditioning or you wish it was a bit cooler, just think back to the summer of 87 probably, when I was locked in a Ford Capri being fed bacon fries and orange squash, not even juice, and then being drunk drove home and dropped off to my mother, who was obviously not very happy. But fair play to my mom. She gave my dad every opportunity to see me and try and be a father, but he just chose to be an alcoholic. So under 10 minutes again today. Going to keep it short and sweet. We're going to sign off. Don't get locked in a car for 6 hours. Have a great Wednesday. Tuesday. It's Tuesday. Bye.
to the My Steve podcast.